Welcome to the Comic Binge. I am your host, Paul Herman, and today we are talking about absolute comic books, absolute DC comic books about absolute Superman, absolute Wonder Woman, and absolute Batmania. Anyway, we're gonna go in and dive into these first three, maybe even four issues of these characters. I would say kind of a very eventful kind of launch, I would say, for DC comic books. So we're gonna go into this kind of important DC launch with these new this new iterations of these characters. So buckle in. We've already done Batman issue 1 of the Absolute comic book, and so we'll probably dive into that obviously a little bit. But if you haven't already, please go and subscribe to the Comic Binge. We'd really appreciate if you have. It is only makes sense if you love comic books and you want to hear us talk about comic books and you want to just get into the feel of that whole thing. So without further ado, I am joined by my very, very, very good friend, El Corazon, Javi Trujillo. How are we doing, Javi?
I'm doing all I'm doing all right, Paul Hermano. I went to the comic store today, walked in. It's a fifth week. So
yeah,
books are a little sparse, right? But waiting on the shelf.
Oh.
I didn't know this was coming.
Oh.
Treasury-sized Untold Legend of the Batman, which I have the three issues of it that came when you sent away your proofs of purchase from eating Batman cereal in 1989.
Oh wow!
And it's shorter than a normal comic, and then the inside covers like black and white covers from like the Silver Age, and then I've got the Jim Aparo Legends of the Dark Knight hard covers volume 2 and 3, and I think this is in volume 3. But when you get Jim Aparo art blown up this big, you gotta jump at it. Especially it was only $13, which is like 2.5 comics at this point. So I figured it was a steal.
I saw a couple of those Treasury. They had one a couple weeks ago. I almost picked up. I'm like,
they've been reprinting them.
Yeah, I haven't found a place in the comic library yet to where to put them. So I got a couple of Treasury books. I got the Superman versus Spider-Man Treasury. I've got some superheroes ones. Yeah, that one. By the way, that was a half-price books find, like back in 2008, 9-ish, for like $20.
That's a steal, man.
Woo! I saw that and I was like, I told my wife, they had the second one too. My wife's like, "Well, just get the second one out," and we were like, wouldn't have as much money at the time. I was like, I can't do that. Yeah,
I mean, how can you pass up Jim Aparo? I just asked when you got a bag and board, and no.
Got a Treasury bag and board. How much does a Treasury bag and board cost?
I don't even know, but not something they carry. Hey, what's up, Greg? That's my boy, Greg.
Yeah, hey, Greg. Love you have a very fitting profile picture, let's just say. So, for this today's talk here, Javi, if you please, could you throw up some covers for me while we can talk about our?
Oh, I sure can.
Thank you. All right, so today we're gonna be talking about obviously Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, absolute comic books today, and I don't know how you want to do this. If you want to do just do one at a time, like one series at a time.
I think that's probably going to be easier.
Think so? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I can do that. Which one? Okay. All right, Javi. I'll let you choose. Which one do you want to start with first?
Well, I mean, let's start with Batman.
Well,
why bury
you the good time?
I mean, Batman was the first book that launched all this. So
okay. All right. So let's set the stage here. Again, full disclosure. If you're first time watching, thank you very much for watching. Basically, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be trying to do as little spoilers as possible. Obviously, some things might get spoiled. Everyone's interpretation of what a spoiler is always varies, but we're going to try our best to be as spoiler-less as possible because we want people to buy the books and to read, right? So that's just the oh, weird. By the way, I'm not hearing anything about it, by the way. Um, anyway, yeah. So we're basically just want people to just go and enjoy the books. So we're trying to do as much as we can to like for you to enjoy them. But we're gonna start with, like Javi said, with Batman here. Absolute. We'll kind of cover, I guess, the first 4 issues if you want. I said 3, but we can do 4. I don't care. What we're 3-4 issues in, Javi. Excuse me. Where do you sit right now? I know we both loved the first issue. I know that much.
Yeah.
And I generally know, I think, where you are right now, but I also I'm kind of also doubting myself. So where are you right now with this series?
I am loving it.
That's what I thought.
Okay. I wasn't necessarily so keen on this new Batmobile design.
We'll talk about that.
It's very unconventional, which is fine, and it's its own thing. It's not like I don't have like a billion other Batmobiles, and Batman changes Batmobiles almost as often or more often than he changes his costume. So
yeah, that's true.
It's not going to upset me. The third issue ended on like an emotional cliffhanger that we just put a pin in and we haven't gone back to it yet. Because issue 4, which we don't have any art for that up, kind of goes into the backstory a little bit more of what happened between the zoo and Batman showing up. And it's also done by a fill-in artist too, whose name eludes me right now. But that was it. Despite that, I felt story-wise it was a really strong issue. So I'm looking forward to when number 5 comes out. But I not wanting to repeat too much of what we went into for the first issue, but like Snyder just continues to. It's definitely a more modern take in terms of like the origin, and instead of Snyder's always been about like what makes him afraid or what's going on in the world today that kind of taps into fear, and he does that by, instead of 2 rich people getting mugged in an alley and pearls falling, it's an active shooter at a zoo at a very public place on a school trip. And that's something that I feel like a lot more people can relate to when in terms of like being afraid of something, and just like having Bruce being on the other side and helpless. It really gets to you. And of course his mom's not there, which is one of the big changes to the legend so far, is that he has a mom to lose, he has a mom to worry about. And it's not like a Peter Parker Aunt May thing where Martha's going to die any minute if she finds out the truth. She's really active politically. She's really bold in standing up for her community, and she was a social worker in this reality. So it's been really cool to get to know these different relationships that are familiar but brand new at the same time. Yeah.
One of the things. Oh, go ahead, Javi. You want to comment on your
No. That was it.
One of the things I think that when we're looking at these kind of these alternate versions, is it's always fun to kind of see how they play with the mythos, but how they can keep it all intact without jumping the shark, which is, by the way, one of my favorite sayings ever of all time. And I think that Scott Snyder has not always been someone I'm always loved and been like, this is the best. I think he's a very good writer. I just don't always connect to his stuff. That's not like a shot at him by any means. It's just that, his work is just kind of doesn't always hit with me. And it's not something, whereas I could say that for a lot of like Tom King's, Jeff Lemire, like those are writers that I really connect with and go, I probably will like generally a lot of things they write, to be quite honest. Scott Snyder's not one of those. It's not, again, nothing personal. I've been overly impressed with how he's able to keep the mythos intact, keep it fresh completely, but also by giving us something we haven't seen before in a very interesting way. Because I gotta tell you, you mentioned Spider-Man, and I hate to say I get Spider-Man vibes from this, Peter Parker vibes, but I do. I think the mom dynamic is very interesting, and I really like the idea of having to worry about someone. Because we have a Batman that doesn't really have that. He's got his agenda, his passion, his revenge or vengeance or whatever you want to call it. And then we have, him carrying out his mission, right? And he develops relationships along the way, but those people become allies, right? Where it's like, of course he's going to be protecting them, but he's also going to be, they also know what's at stake, like Alfred, Dick Grayson, Tim Drake, excuse me, Jason Todd, so on and so forth. What's interesting, what Scott Snyder has done, he's taken the mission statement, which is the most important statement of Batman, right? Which is to avenge, the people who cannot avenge themselves and himself, and to, take out the injustice that's within Gotham and root it out, because the cancer that's within Gotham is too much and it's corrupting itself, right?
Yeah.
And what's fascinating is he has now a leg in the game. He now, with his mom, he has someone who he doesn't want to get corrupted and get killed, or get killed because of the corruption and what Gotham's turned into, right? So it's really fascinating to see where, he's taken this idea of like, he's not just protecting Gotham, Javi, he's protecting his mom, his family.
Yeah.
And that's something we haven't really seen from Batman. So and that's what I'm saying with, you're taking the mythos, the mission statement, all the things that are important for Batman, which this is just beautiful. This is comic storytelling at its finest right here, in my opinion. Like, this is what makes comics so special, a page layout like this. But anyway, when you add the element of the mother with him, it definitely adds a layer of Bruce that we haven't seen before. That's fascinating. So that has been probably my biggest surprise of this. And I even though I would say it's almost in a good way a Peter Parker Spider-Man thing, Javi, because we're getting a Bruce that has to really think about things now, instead of just being like, I've got soldiers at home, I've got Alfred at home, he can take care of himself. I mean, for God's sakes, in Batman versus Predator, Alfred uses a gun on the Predator. I mean, like, Alfred could take care of himself, at least in the
I mean, he was former military.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, like, the dude is Batman in regular mythos and regular reality doesn't have to worry about that stuff, really. And let's be real, when you have your mother, your only surviving parent, as actively working within the corruption of the city, and is pretty much like at any moment could be an innocent bystander or a victim, you could say, of that corruption. It adds.
I mean, she almost is in the first issue.
Yeah, so it's like all of that is really fascinating to see that built off of what is motivating this character.
Yeah, and the dynamics of, what's Gordon doing, what's Harvey Bullock doing.
Yeah.
The fact that what we know is his rogues gallery are now like his childhood friends. Like, I can see how some people think it's contrived, but I think it works really well, because we're still at the beginning too. We don't know what's going to happen with everyone, which side they're going to fall on, which I find kind of interesting to see this dynamic. And of course we have, Arc M as a mystery that's being set up. And I don't know how you feel about Black Mask. He was always just kind of like
want to throw him up on here?
A generic gangster to me. But this Black Mask is terrifying. Like, it's my favorite iteration of the character. Just the depravity that his gang is doing and unleashing. It's slightly reminiscent of the mutants in The Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, I would say, yeah.
But I don't know, man. There's something else that it's really just kind of scary. And it was an issue 3 where you get to see a Superman character interact with Black Mask, and it doesn't go well. And that kind of highlights the darkness that's in this dark side energy infused universe.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really curious to see what the results of the end of issue 3 are, and if it's corruption getting inside Batman, or if he's trying to work his way in the system to root it out from the inside. And I just find it to be a compelling read every month. And this art is just, it's got just a great energy to it. It's bold. It's theatrical. And, at times it's like fun and whimsical too. And there's a lot of little things interspersed, that lots of nods to other themes and versions of the characters. So it's a plus for me every month.
Well, so really, really quickly, it's Gabriel Hernandez Walta is the guy who did issue 4.
Okay, number 4.
Which by the way, the art is it's a little bit of a drastic change style wise, but I really enjoyed the art too. God, that's ridiculous. I mean, listen. Yes, this is a ridiculous shot, but I don't care. I love it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so amazing. This is why I love superhero comics, Kavi. It's crap like this. This is amazing. I don't care. Give it to me.
Yeah, this is the grand opera, the big drama that Frank Miller talks about when he talks about the end of Dark Knight Returns, or what he was trying to impart with The Dark Knight Strikes Again. Just the big drama, the operatic stakes that these heroes, inflict upon their environment. So, and is it a little cutesy Batman AF? Sure.
Yeah, of course.
But,
yeah.
It's a little tongue in cheek, but it's fun.
One thing, even though like the Walta is different than the other guy, which is he's amazing.
Dragotta,
he's so good. And this goes along. This to be honest, I would say this is probably goes across the whole line at this point right now. Is the Absolute Comic artist and I would say the inking and the coloring are all very different from series to series, but they are all fantastic. I really can't complain about the art at all. The art is fantastic.
They definitely have their own voice. It's not, they're not trying to meet a house style or anything. They're each unique for their own character.
Well, and I think it's that, and the fact that like nothing feels rushed. Nothing feels like these people were trying to get out on a deadline, or like they're cutting corners. It feels very lived in. Like there's a lot of TLC, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I have no idea, but it doesn't come across that way. And the art feels very exceptional. And I would say that that's not exactly always a word I can use for a lot of modern days, like monthly comic books, for mainstream comic books. So I would say and Batman's no exception, obviously. All of them are great. They all have very distinct voices, which I like a lot, which we'll get into in their individual series. But Dragotta, like, I think does a great, like, him and Scott Snyder have a great chemistry to where they, like, there's so many different panels on the page that really are telling like a finite story. I'm not sure if you have like a dialogue page you can bring up for me, Javi, but it has like little, like this is, like stuff like this. This is great. The fact that you got these little panels, it just adds, it makes it more of a dynamic page. And you're telling, and like you're marrying the medium of what the writer is doing, but you're also putting a different flair to it by adding more dynamics and pages and like just doing more creative things like this. That to me is what makes comics special. And Scott Snyder is getting into that, which we'll get into. There's another series in particular that I definitely can't wait to talk about that goes even further, I think, in this as well. So, Yeah, Black Mask for me, I think is always a character that I liked him in the comic books, in the mainstream comic books. This he definitely feels way more deadly in this and a lot more serious and a bigger threat. I'm not crazy about the design at this point, but it doesn't
Okay.
stop me from like being like this guy's terrible. Does that make sense? So I think Batman's a home run. I think you should be reading it if you aren't already. It's not like this a silly like it's not a cheap trick in my opinion. This is the real deal. It's Scott Sanders telling a very worthwhile story. And is it only 5 issues?
No, it's an ongoing.
It's an ongoing.
Yeah. No, these
Is
are all, as far as I
are
know,
they
these are all ongoings. I mean,
okay?
we're building up to like a special event in a year or two where they all come together. So this
Okay.
isn't a mini series by any stretch. The
I
first
thought it
arc I
was for
think
some
is
reason.
no. The first arc is like maybe 5 or 6 issues, but Snyder said he's got a couple years planned out. Um,
Stoked.
and one thing I wanted to point out about DC's been doing a lot of noir editions,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no exception for the first issues of the first three series. But like, I really, really, really want a noir compact comic of Absolute Batman. Like, if you can get
Yeah.
take the crawl off for just a second, Paul.
Oh sure.
The like his art is so manga-esque, like in
Mm-hmm.
black and white. And I have the noir for this in Superman. And the Superman one adds like some splashes of red, but like just the pencils on this look so good, and you really see how dynamic everything is. And I mean, if you put this in black and white, compact comic size, and kind of shove it in the manga section, I mean, this thing would fly off the shelf. The compact comics are flying off the shelves anyways.
Yeah. No
But if you
kidding.
threw
Right.
this out there, I mean, you could reach a whole new audience with, this is a new Batman. Check it out in black and white. And I know it would sell great. It's so much fun to look at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, you're right. And that does look great. I mean, compact comics are chef's kiss. I love compact comics. So I'm definitely in the market for more compact comics when I can get them. So, all right. I think we've said our piece about Batman.
Yeah.
Let's move on to your favorite character, Superman.
Wonder Woman.
No. Superman.
I was like, let's go in order.
No, let's go Superman.
No.
Save Wonder Woman for last.
All
Yeah,
right.
let's save Superman for last.
Well, she was second. Her book
yeah,
came out second. But okay.
just go. I want to go Superman. I think this would be a good.
Okay.
Just because here's why. I want people because first of all I think more people are going to be probably interested in Batman Superman than Wonder Woman just from a viewership standpoint. But I want to tell
That's
people
where
right
you keep
now.
them interested by waiting
Exactly.
for Superman at the end. Keep them on the hook. You
Well,
don't want
I
them to
want.
bail for Wonder Woman.
All right, you convinced me. All right, throw Wonder Woman up. All right,
Okay.
all right. So I'm gonna say this about Wonder Woman.
Woman.
Wonder Woman and Spider Man. If you guys get that reference, you're a G. That's some of the funniest skits of all time, by the way. All right, Wonder Woman, by Kelly Thompson and Hayden Sherman. This is I gotta be honest. When if you listen to the Spidey Dude Network and you listen to a lot of different shows I've been on for podcasts for these things, you'll hear me talk a lot of praises for Kelly Thompson. I think she's a fantastic writer that gets does not get enough credit that she deserves in this industry. She obviously is working on a regular basis, so it seems like she does get that respect but it feels like she's way better than people really realize, in my opinion. And I don't love everything she's done. I'm not a big fan of Black Cloak. That's just my opinion. But I've read a lot of her stuff that I've liked. And when she was tapped for this, I'm like, okay, that sounds good. I didn't know. Admittedly, Wonder Woman is not one of my favorite characters, right? So I had a lot of low expectations as far as what I would, not for Kelly Thompson, but for the character herself. And I'm going to tell you all right now, I have been pleasantly surprised of the fact that this series has blown me away of how good it is. I think it's on par, if not better, than Absolute Batman. And I did not think I was going to say that going into it. And Absolute Batman,
That's a bold statement.
it's almost as good. It might be better. I don't know. I just can't tell because they're both very good. The reason why I think Wonder Woman is on par with Absolute Batman, excuse me, excuse me, is we are getting a version of Diana that is so interesting, and there's definitely some mystery in there. Again, you're taking the mythos, you're keeping in elements of the Steve Trevor aspect, you're getting a lot of the the gods and all that stuff that makes Wonder Woman, et cetera, et cetera. But you're getting this isolation aspect, Javi, that we haven't got, that, and this whole magic aspect that I've just been enthralled by, and it keeps zigging and zagging when I don't expect it to, and it goes big, and I just love it, and I've been captivated by the character of Diana in this world a lot, and again, I haven't read a ton of Wonder Woman comics, but I think this is by far, maybe, I don't know. I have no idea. I think this might be some of Kelly Thompson's best work that I've read. This is fantastic. The sacrifices, this, just like the whole idea of like, it's a very simple premise of like what is going on, right? You've got Wonder Woman fighting giant monsters. That's your premise. Okay. You're going to be getting, if you're going to read what Absolute Wonder Woman, you're going to be getting Wonder Woman versus monsters. But the subtext and the background and all of that and the characterization of Wonder Woman is so good that it only makes it that much better when you go into it. And I've been thoroughly impressed. And we talk about the art for all these series right now, right? Have been fantastic. I think Sherman is probably my favorite of the three, and it's probably because his layouts are just ridiculous. I mean, just simple stuff like this it's not, I want to say it's basic, but it's not doing a ton, but there's so much storytelling and that you're getting from these four like long, wide shots that you can't help but absorb what it's telling you, right? Without even having to read, you kind of see what's going on, right? And that's a great storyteller. And Sherman always makes it feels like a page is a lot more interesting to look at, and not just in a very like just to do it for the sake of doing it. Great example right here. You're giving me something to look at. It's interesting, but it adds to what we're doing with the character, right? You look at here, walking up to Steve Trevor, right? And it's like, I just love, it's so interesting to look at. You have an establishing shot, then you have the run up and the circular panel of an eye, right? Of Steve Trevor looking at Diane. It's just chef's kiss. It's just stuff like the little things you do with this in comic books go so far, and they're so, in my opinion, subliminal for a viewer or a reader of comic books, that a lot of people, like for myself, that for years I take this stuff for granted because it's just what you expect artists to do. But as someone who loves comic books and now analyzes them all the time, I just think Sherman is killing it. And I don't know much about this artist. I'm not sure what background they have, but I think they are just, they're balling out. Like, I love this artist to death. And him and Kelly Thompson are just, this issue in particular is my favorite so far. This was a fantastic issue. And there's a great reveal of this about Wonder Woman. I don't want to spoil it for you, that I love. And I think, yes, absolute Batman is a must read. I think Wonder Woman is equally as a must read, in my opinion, Javi.
Well, that's just like your opinion, man. It happens to be the right opinion,
Woo!
but I mean, everything you said and then some. Like just the whole premise, it's not just as simple as Wonder Woman fights monsters because she's done that in her own book plenty of times, even in the movies. But the big difference here is that this is a Wonder Woman who was raised in hell. And not only was she raised in hell, since she was a baby, she was raised by Circe, who in the regular DC universe is one of her mortal enemies. And so to see in that first issue where that nurturing, mothering side of Circe comes out and raises a child in hell, like it's pretty cool concept. And then you add on to the fact that from here forth the word Amazon is banned. Like she can't even say really what she is. Like she's not fully allowed to know. And Thompson just really takes her time and explores everything and you know gives you a little bit in every issue and like peels back the layers and then we get to see the introduction of Steve Trevor and they juxtapose it from Diana and Steve in the present day to her finding them um, a few years ago and just how everything is laid out and
Ugh.
again going to the panel work like
Ugh.
it's just insane. Like you have the Wonder Woman W there, Pegasus is a skeleton.
Oh, so good.
And this thing with the vase,
Ugh.
telling the story and how it sits in the panel, like everything is just on point and beautiful, and it's such a treat to look at. And it's unique, but it stands out, obviously because it's unique, but it's such a different beast than what you would see in like the Tom King book right now, which has exceptional art as well. But there's just something quirky about these two books and the art um, that make it feel a little untraditional. It makes it feel a little edgier than like the mainstream Wonder Woman book, and that's just it just sets it apart. And I it's not because it's not good. I just fell behind with Tom King's Wonder Woman, and I wasn't really sure how long I was going to stick on this title, but I'm fully invested in it and what Thompson's doing here, especially with visuals like this.
Yeah, I think that this is easily like I didn't know how long I was going to go on either of these titles, especially now that I know they're ongoing. God damn. Because we're getting more ongoings too. We're getting more Absolute Comics. You know, with Jeff Lemire's Flash. I mean, I have to buy that. You know, I'm like,
yeah.
Oh,
And
God
Green Lantern and Martian Manhunter.
I mean, Martian Manhunter. I mean, I don't want. That's a problem now. I wish they would be miniseries or whatever. Because I'm just like I can't keep buying all this stuff, man. But I don't know if I'll go Green Lantern. Who's writing Green Lantern, by the way?
Someone good.
Fair. All right.
It's late. I don't remember.
Well, all I know is Lemire's writing Flash, and that's
Yes.
good enough for me. So, I mean, that's all I gotta say. He wrote Flash. He's writing Flash. I'm good. Yeah, I guess listen, go pick up Wonder Woman in a trade or whatever. It's fantastic. Like I don't think.
Al Ewing.
Okay, I am picking
Al
up
Ewing
Green Lantern.
is writing Green Lantern. Yeah.
Your boy Greg just came in. Yeah. All right. You know what?
Yeah.
Al Ewing, he gets the benefit of the doubt all the time, and I'm like, God damn it.
And Joe is the main character. Joe Moline from Far Sector.
Oh, the girl.
Yes.
Yes. Which, by the way, Far Sector.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that book, by the way.
Yeah.
It was very good. So yeah, I guess anything you want to say about finish up on Wonder Woman? Anything you want to say? I highly recommend it.
No, it's just it's awesome. It it's it's touching, it's exciting, fantastic art. Um, it's a really good book, man. And I feel like it's kind of in the middle ground of like changes, I guess. It's hard to say because Gotham feels the same, like because Gotham's always the worst of everything,
Sure.
and there is a heightened danger because of Martha and because the Black Mask Gang is such a threat. But it still feels like very much of the regular DC universe. Like there's not too much. There's a lot of changes, but it all feels in some ways superficial, which
Yeah.
isn't necessarily like a bad thing.
Sure.
This feels a little bit different because she doesn't have Paradise Island. Her mother's not Hippolyta. She's not surrounded by Amazons. Like she's it. So she feels a little more detached from like the traditional Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Um, and there is more against her. And then we'll get into Superman and see, where he falls on that spectrum. But I feel like this is more of a departure from typical Wonder Woman,
Yeah, I
even
agree with
though
that.
again, there's a lot of similar trappings with, having Steve Trevor and finding him on an island. Um, it's hard to measure because there is so much that's similar, but so much tonally that's different as well.
Well, and like I said before with Batman, the core elements are all there. They're just twisted a little bit,
Yeah,
And but what the twist, and I don't want to say twist like the twist, but
it's not M. Night Shyamalan.
no, it's more of just like
Yeah,
there's different things going on that you know just make the character different, but yet still the ideas are all still there. you know. So yeah, go pick up Kelly Thompson's and Hayden Sherman's Wonder Woman. It's fantastic. You won't regret it. I don't think so. It's great. It's a great read. I love it. So, Javi, throw up the Man of Steel, please. There he is. Okay,
love this
let's
cover.
this cover is it rips. It freaking rips. I ain't gonna lie.
It's a movie poster.
Here's what I'm gonna say about. I'm gonna say this out the gate about Absolute Superman, y'all. I think the if I had to pick as a style of art of the of pure, not like the like layouts, not like the overall like feel the connection with the writer, the artist for Superman, Absolute Superman is the pure art is fantastic. It's very like Jim Lee 90s in the best way possible. I don't mean any disrespect. I mean that it is great. Good solid layouts. It is great art. Great art. I'm not familiar with any of these artists. Really before I go any further, Javi, do you know this person?
Yeah,
Sandoval?
he's been around DC for a while now. I think he did some of Barry Allen Flash for a little bit, if I'm not
Okay.
mistaken.
Okay.
So he's been around.
I've been overly impressed. I get a lot of like 90s Jim Lee ish stuff, of that era with him. And I would say that this is probably as my favorite style of like just comic art is probably this. It's more traditional, more realistic within obviously realistic within reason, but you get what I'm saying. Um I think I'm going to say it right now. I think the art is the high point of the book by far.
Okay.
I have issues with not issues. This is not terrible, but of the three, this is my least favorite. And I think that one thing I'm getting really tired of, and Jason Aaron is just doing this nonstop, is the pure narrative of a narration of the main character, of captions, nonstop. And maybe I'm misremembering, I should say, but there's so much inner like thoughts, you know. I was like, the first couple issues, I was like, you know, and granted, like, you know, the different aspects are there too, whatever. But I just think that this is the one that probably feels the most like just kind of treading the same kind of ideas.
Oh
Um,
no.
it, I think so because Krypton, the family, it all feels very familiar to me. The only difference is that Superman, where it's like you know, like he lands somewhere different. That's the only difference that I feel here. You know, and now that's interesting to an extent,
Yeah,
but
I don't get that at all.
okay. Well, let me finish my
Yeah.
explain, and you can go here. Everything about the origin again, and I'm not like a Superman expert like you guys are, so I make that very clear. As a very, you know, moderately to like decently, you know, knowledgeable Superman fan, it doesn't feel like that different. Now, again, the origin, I'm talking about the origin itself, doesn't feel that different than what I'm compared to. The only difference is maybe Clark's like a little more of a bad kid. Oh my gosh, Clark's a rebel. It's like, okay, whatever. I mean, like that kind of stuff feels cheap to me. And I think that like when you put him in, I like the idea of putting him in that in was it Portugal, um, or what? Or is it Brazil? One of those countries. They put
Yeah.
him in. I like that idea. The execution of it is just not there. And like even though I like the idea of the peacemaker characters, like you know, it's like okay, yeah, cool, it's fun little thing you're doing there. It just it's not hitting with me. And even though like you have like a symbiote cape, that's nice and all. What's up, Rick? Um, I just this series is not clicking for me, and I'm kind of in it to win it. I'm not dropping it, because I love the art. I think the art's fantastic. I'm just not. It's just not. It's not delivering enough for me. Where it feels like it's too familiar, but yeah, it's going too hard one way to like. So it's not really mixing as well as Thompson and Snyder's series, and that to me is what makes this series not as good. And what's up, Rick? Um, I want something different, and I'm willing to give it more of a chance, but I don't love this, not even close to as much as the other ones.
Oh, I don't know what book you read. I'm
Fair enough.
confused because
I read
to
Absolute
me
Superman.
this is the safest of the art
I agree.
because it doesn't feel as quirky. It's the best work I've seen from them. They've done a lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff. They did House of Brainiac recently too, but like
Oh, cool.
everything just seems so grand and epic. And I I 100% disagree with what you said. I This
Okay.
is the book I was the most worried about, because he is more of like the alien, more of the Kal-El than the Clark. We haven't really There is no Clark yet, as far as I can
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
And and like Aaron really gets into the Krypton side of things, and
The
we
third
learn
issue is
like
my favorite.
these cheesy like sun uniforms that we used to see Jor-El wear in the Silver Age. Like those are like the ruling class, the science class. But you know, we get this whole new hierarchy, and the people who wear what we know as the Superman S shield, the S crest, that's the labor class, and how they're looked down upon, and but you know, to them they wore it with pride because they're the people of steel. So it brings back like this working class fighter for the little guy that Superman was in the golden age. And we get, it's not that Clark is or Cal is the bad boy here or the rebel, it's that his parents both kind of bucked the system when they were younger and got slapped down for it for not towing the line. And it's not like he's like out doing bad things. He's just being inventive and thinking outside the box, and he's getting slapped down by that from like his teachers. So it's not that he's a rebel or dangerous or trying to be James Darren or James Dean rather.
But I know what you're saying, but like the whole like free thinking idea is rebellious in and of itself too, because you're daring to think outside the box.
But he's not doing it in like a bad boy rebellious way.
You don't have to though.
He's kind of confused by it all. Why people aren't thinking like him.
But I think to me, the nature of someone who's like that, who's adventurous, is rebellious, is inherently more of a bad boy. A risk taker is more of a bad boy. And again, this is not like, I say bad boy meaning like they're just they're edgier, right? That's what I'm saying. Like,
see, I don't feel like this kid is edgy at all.
Well, I'm
like that is not an edgy kid right there.
Well, but see, hold on. I say edgy it's not the best example I'm trying to give here, but like what I'm saying is he's not the typical kind of total line, because to me Superman is a little bit more of a total line, try to live within the rules of the construction, within reason. And the Superman that I
got to get you some more Superman.
No, hold on. Like, I know that he's not just gonna like do whatever. I know that, and I like that about the character. We also know there is an element, or there's truth to why they call him the Big Blue Boy Scout, and I don't think it's bad either. I think there is a way that you have to like live within the confines of what you're given, and I think that this Clark. And again, the big departure here is that he's older, right? He's not just a baby when he leaves; he's older.
Yeah.
So he has a relationship with his birth parents, which is it. That is interesting. The problem is how they play it out, how Aaron plays it out. I love this. Like there are some cool elements here. I'm not saying it's complete dog crap. It's just my least favorite. I just think that this characterization of Clark as a boy just doesn't ring true to me, and I feel like he's too. I know his parents are adventurous, but like it feels like it's too on the nose for me, as far as, well, he's a rebellious kid, blah blah blah. I don't know. It feels like I like for him to be more of like taking it all in, instead of being like, I'm the forefront of like figuring this stuff out because my parents are so advanced. Like it's too perfect, and I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, that's how you feel. I don't get the feeling that they're coming off as too perfect or that like out of left field rebellious at all. But that's just the vibe I'm getting. And like I was saying, this is the one I was most worried about. And there's still a lot of story to come and grow as he. Like, we're still figuring out so much stuff, like what's going on with this suit and it talking to him and what the armbands can even do. And Lois is working for this Lazarus Corporation, and they're at odds with each other.
Yeah, we're only 3 issues in. I made that very clear. I haven't not enjoyed. I'm not like just hating.
Like, why do we keep going to the Kents? Because all we've seen is the farm abandoned, and presumably, Jonathan in a nursing home. Like how do they still tie in with this? And with this being, the dark side energy universe, like he's stripped of that loving family, and his own family wasn't the well-regarded, House of El from the regular Earth that we're familiar with. So, and yeah, I thought the Peacemakers, given how popular the show is, and bringing in a different iteration and making them like a group instead of one guy, I thought was a pretty interesting way to go about it.
Yeah.
And just that the Cape does different things, and and part of it reminds me of the New 52 a little bit, just with the different S and
Totally. Mm-hmm.
the suit being the way it is. But the one thing that this has that the New 52 didn't is options. So if you don't
Yes.
like this book, you've still got Superman, you still got Action Comics, which is a little weird, only in as much as like Mark Wade just did this huge Phantom Zone arc where Superman went back in time at one point in the story and got to interact with his parents, but they don't know it's him. And like we get to see what life on Krypton was like, and there's some parallel stuff going on that isn't necessarily confusing, but when you're reading a whole bunch of comics at once and you're flipping back and forth between the two, there's a little bit of bleed over, I think, from the two titles. But definitely like him helping refugees and how his goodness inspires Lois to question what she's doing and question the system. Like it's all ringing very true to me. And you even get like to see his time with Crypto on Krypton and get a better sense of the dynamic between his parents. So at least from the Kryptonian side, they're a lot more fleshed out than we see like at this point in other stories, I feel like. And we haven't even, gotten to, a whole bunch of other stuff that's still coming down the road. Because they tease like presumably, Brainiac in the first issue. God only knows what that's going to lead to, but just how developed Krypton is and its ecosystems, and like there's still like that Donner inspiration, but they're just twisting it just a little bit and kind of paying homage to like different aspects that we've seen before.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
so
like I said, I just don't connect to it as much as the other ones, and it feels like this is the one that I'm just not. I'm feeling that it's just kind of treading a little bit more. But again, it's only 3 issues. It's not I don't think it's not great. It's just it's not blowing me away. It's fine. It's fine. If this wasn't like if this wasn't named Superman, I probably would have dropped it. To be honest, if it was just like a regular character and you renamed everything else, I'd be like, I don't know if I'd say the same thing for Absolute Batman and Wonder Woman. I think they both have aesthetically different things going for it that are really interesting, that I really like, and they're very different than what their normal things have. Going from like giant, big buff, big old, huge Batman to the very stylized monsters and swords and of Wonder Woman, and the magic things of Wonder Woman and are very interesting aesthetically, in my opinion. This just feels kind of, from a story standpoint, just not grabbing me as much. Even though, again, I like the art a lot, to be honest. I like the art quite a bit, actually. So,
to me, this book feels like the biggest departure from the stereotypical norm that we know of these characters. Like this one feels like, even though the art feels the safest, story-wise, this feels the most radical.
Interesting, because I don't think that at all. It doesn't feel that way to me. Like when I read this, I'm like, yeah, this feels like, Clark's a little bit is older, and which again, that is probably the most interesting aspect of it. But everything else feels like just, well, Krypton's gonna blow up. What are we gonna do? The L's are, they gotta figure it out. Like you know what I mean? Like it again, that's not inherently bad. It feels safe. See, that feels safe to me. That I don't know.
But there's no Daily Planet. There's no Perry. There's no Jimmy. Who knows what's up with Martha? Jonathan's in a nursing home. That's all we've seen. There's no Kent Farm. There's no Clark Kent. He doesn't have that alternate identity yet. He doesn't have that humanity that's a touchstone, which even in the New 52, like they established the whole dual identity thing. And
Yeah. Well,
while that has
Mojave,
a similar fighting for the little guy, like the whole Krypton thing to me feels like more of a reinvention than just repeating what we've gotten for the last 85 years.
but that's the thing is you asked where's Daily Planet and all that stuff. I agree, but here's the thing: this is an origin story. Like this, so I feel
Yeah.
like we're just focusing more on Krypton, which again, there's aspects of it are different, but it feels very formulaic at this point. It's like, and now granted, I should tell myself to watch out a little bit because you know, absolute Batman still has a lot of those different aspects too. Like it still got the death of a parent, but again, like there's different things that I went on and on about how great that was because it was very different. This feels still the same. The only difference is that Clark's older, and he has a relationship with his parents.
No, I feel like how is that not different then? If Batman having a relationship with his mom is
Because it's
different, why
ongoing.
does Clark having a relationship with his parents here different?
Because again,
Getting to spend more time with them and being
right
more influenced by him.
because to me when you have the mission statement of Batman and a parent that he has to constantly worry about, there is a way more at stake for him than just the mission. And that to me is very interesting amidst the other little minor details of things that they've done, obviously, right? But with Superman, it's just even with a closer relation with his parents and being like, oh, I have a relationship with my parents when I'm younger. Like that's not terrible idea. It just doesn't add that much to me at this point. Like I'm like, oh,
But
he's a lot like his parents.
why should he fight for humanity without the Kents?
No, no,
Without
and I'm
those
not
values that they instilled in him? Like, what is
sure.
he getting from his parents that we haven't seen yet? Because
Right, but
unless I'm misremembering, they're still alive on Krypton, right? We don't
I,
know for any certainty that they've died.
we don't know. Yeah, we and that's what I want to say that right now too. We're only 3 issues in, and there's a lot to tell. And even like in Batman's fourth issue, it fleshed out a lot of what's going on with in the characterization of Bruce Wayne in this dark sided energy world, whatever. So I remain open to really wanting to get into the series. Again, it's not bad. I just can't recommend it to people who are like, should they spend their hard-earned money on this? I'd be like, nah, skip this one. Go with Wonder Woman and Batman. If you had of the three, I'm just being real. Or if there's other books you really want to get, I'd say you could skip this. Save it for DC Unlimited or DC Infinite or in our Hoopla or whatever. This is not to me essential reading. I think the other two are essential reading. But that's just me. That's my final say. Infinite. So, all right. Well, Javi, well, I've said my piece. Any rebuttals you have for my wrong opinion?
They're all bangers. If you want to be on the ground floor, like the place to be, and it's don't judge it just by these 3 issues because you're drowning
That's
me
true.
out, man.
Oh, sorry.
Like
I was
we're
drowning you out.
we're not even through the story yet on any of these. So I
That's a
think
good
it'd be
point.
fun to look back in another 3 months and see what, if anything,
yeah.
landed or if anything fell off.
I think
But
that's a great point. Yeah, I'm with you.
yeah,
And like I said,
I,
I remain open to Superman. I am not someone who's gonna be like, "Oh, this is bad." It's the one that I feel that people can skip of the three. You know, if I also feel if you love Superman, you got to pick it up. It's definitely worth it.
yeah.
That's worth it of itself. You know, I that is saying something too. If you like Superman, you'll like it. I think. It's just for me, it's just not as good as the other ones. That cover rips though. It might have the best cover of the whole three, of the first issues.
Yeah.
That one's solid. Ironically, I think Batman has probably the worst of the three.
Oh no, I dig this one.
You know what?
I
Do
think
you
I
have
have
issue
the
4?
foil of it.
Dude, do you have issue 4 of Batman?
Yeah.
Absolute Batman. Throw it up there.
Yeah. Oh no, I physically own it, but I don't have it up here digitally now.
Sorry, I thought you grabbed that one.
It's already put away.
This thing is gorgeous. I think I love this pick. This cover rips. So, no, we'll definitely check back in, and and because I think the Absolute line is really interesting, and I think it's worth focusing solely on, what we're doing here, and I want to check in with Al Ewing's Green Lantern. I want to check out Jeff Lemire's. I mean, goddamn, I'm gonna be picking up majority of these books, man. This sucks. Only in my money way, not.
Flash starts March 4th, so. Right, yeah. So by the time March ends, we should be getting to the end of the first arcs of these stories.
Yeah. Okay, really quickly. Who's writing Martian?
That's a good question. It was also someone good. Denise Camp.
I'm not familiar with that person.
Ultimates. The new Ultimates.
I love new Ultimates.
The current Ultimates.
Yeah.
The current Ultimate.
Yeah.
Because isn't there like a new Ultimates too?
Yeah, I
the
always
one
forget
that's in the current Ultimate universe. Yeah.
Yeah, I always forget about that writer, and I love that book. So, god damn, you're right. It sucks.
Yeah.
By the way, Ultimates
which is interesting
really,
that he's doing that and Ultimates at the same time.
Dude, Ultimates is low key really good. Like, yeah, I can't even explain. Like, we have to review that at some point. We have our big Ultimate Spider-Man run here in a couple of weeks, so we'll be diving into that whole series. But Ultimates is really good. It almost feels like under the radar good.
See, that to me is the absolute Superman of the Ultimates line. Like, I didn't object to it at all. I enjoyed the first issue, but I just haven't had a desire to keep reading it. I'd rather just focus on Ultimate Spider-Man. And
that's fair. That's totally fair. I think it's a little. I think it gets a little too. It's a little too in the weeds sometimes, and that you have to.
There's a whole bunch of stuff with the things that I just not interested in.
The characters and how he's fleshing out the characterizations of these characters over the course of the issues have been really, really good, and that's the only reason why I keep.
That's what I've heard. I've heard good things about it. I'll wait till it's on Unlimited and
go binge it. Then we'll do a binge on it when you can when you can binge it. Javi, we'll do a show on it because I think it's worth picking up. How about this? If you're not a hardcore Marvel fan, then I don't know if it's worth picking up on a regular basis. But if you're a big Marvel fan, you definitely got to pick up Ultimates. It's super good. So
I got burned by the first Ultimates book, and the second, and the third. Actually, the third I did not read.
No, hold on.
I love Jeff Loeb, but I don't know what was going on there.
There's an Ultimates after that too, by the way.
Oh yeah,
by a very good writer named Al Ewing. And that Ultimate series is chef's kiss. It's so freaking good. I love that Ultimate series. When you have Galactus in it as a member almost.
Huh.
I'll just leave it there. Just throw it out there. So good. So freaking good. Anyway. All right, Javi, this has been fun. I appreciate you and all the work you put in for all this stuff up there and in our disagreements about Ultimate Superman, but or Ultimate Superman. Oh my God, Freudian slip on that one, right? Absolute Superman.
Yeah.
But it seems like you're enjoying the line as a whole. I mean, I'm for the most part, I enjoyed most of it. I just don't like Superman as much as you do. So anyway. Javi, where people can find your exploitations or exploits, I should say, around podcasting and whatnot.
all over the place. I mean, probably the main thing is you can go to batmanonfilm.com where I'm reviewing Batman and Robin Year One by Mark Waid and Chris Samney, Batman Gargoyle of Gotham, which has been really good and gotten some notoriety lately. So that's a really cool book. I can't say it. Batmanimation. One of the shows we do on the network, and that's up on YouTube.
Yeah.
Up to speed with Wally West, my own YouTube channel, breaking down Wally West Flash series, starting with the one in the 80s and working my way slowly at this point forward, and throwing in the occasional like movie review, action figure review there. And every now and then I show up on the Spidey Dude Network talking Ultimate Spider-Man. And we're about to launch season 2 of the 007 Files. It's a James Bond focused podcast with myself and Bill Koenig and David Lee, and just talking about all different aspects of James Bond. And we've got a great first guest for our first episode that should be out hopefully in a week. So keep your eyes peeled to the 007 Files for that. And then Comic Binge.
I mean, yeah.
Reverend Chris Clow and I doing Nights Never Die with P-Thug when we can twist his arm to be on it.
I'm always on it. I mean, how are they ever not on it? And we're doing that next week, right?
I gotta check my calendar again, but I think so.
You said it. You helped me set it up, which by the way, I always really appreciate when you help me out with that. So.
A lot's happened since then. Yes. Yeah. The current plan is Nights is our next episode. Because, January's already over. Yeah. I don't know how that happened, but...
Seriously.
Saturday is February, so...
That's crazy. So we've got a big show next month, or big shows next month. We've got Nights. Obviously, we have another Superman title, which, did we confirm that was Death of? Are we going Death next month?
We're still confirming.
All right. Well, you gotta let me know.
We're still confirming.
My person in the bag, I gotta let them know. If that's the case.
Spider-Man Council.
The Spider-Man Council returns next month, y'all. And then also
the Ultimate Spider-Man Council.
Yeah, Ultimate Spider-Man. And the whole Ultimate Spider-Man Hickman review of the whole year. And then after that, we've got Before that, we've got Captain America. Do you want to plug that, what we're doing for that, for the movie coming out?
We're doing a Captain America show.
Yes, but what issues? You chose them.
We haven't. I thought we were still debating those.
Were we? I'm going with what you said.
Oh, okay. Well then, not my Captain America, which is the second. It's the first volume of the second Sam Wilson Captain America series.
Okay.
If I've got that right. Because it was all new Captain America. Then I think it's Sam Wilson Captain America.
Yeah, then Spencer took over. Yeah.
Yeah, Spencer's Volume 1, Not My Captain America, which has Sam. It introduces Joaquin Torres, who's going to be in Brave New World. It's got the Serpent Society, who may also be in the movie. And you've got the return of Capwolf. So there's a lot going on in those 6 issues. They're a lot of fun.
I think me and Sean read this for an old Patreon comic episode we did years ago. I think, which I remember I enjoyed it when I read it because I remember Capwolf being a part of it. So that's cool. It'll be fun to reread that. So anyway, Javi, as always, as one of the main hosts here, thank you so much for always contribute.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my God, contributions. Oh, I can't talk. It's late.
It's late. I'm tired. It's late. We can't talk. Yeah.
All the I'm not even trying to word all the things you do for us. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Happy to do
it. Go subscribe to the Comic Binge, like the videos, etc. We have tons of other videos to watch about DC Comics. We got some to tickle your fancy if you like comic books. So go check it out. Javi, would you just do the honors for Chris? He's not here with us right now.
Read more comics.